Greetings ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. I will be your host Thrones, bringing you a role-playing build known as Pelinal's Wrath. Pelinal's Wrath in a nutshell is a role-playing build intended specifically for a niche casual playstyle, questing around and all-around normal content. It is in no way made for veteran content, it is not made to min-max, nor is it made for any type of difficult content or for veteran dungeons. The build is inspired by the concept of a crusader. Pelinal Whitestrake himself, renowned as the Divine Crusader, was an immortal hero, legendary warrior, sorcerer, king and crusader who fought as a champion of the slave queen Alicia. Pelinal was the enemy of all elves that lived in Cyrodiil, and as such we will try to refrain from playing as an elf. However, we can also reverse the role, and if one wants to play as a type of a holy crusader but want to play as an elf, can in fact play as a champion of Meridia, which I will explain in the video further. The class I recommend playing would be Templar, as it fits perfectly with the crusader theme. However, you can play any race, any class and any role as you see fit. And now for the build. For our attributes we went with a stamina character. However, you can go with Magicka as much as you want. I went full stamina since I'm playing as an Imperial and I want to go with more of the sword style rather than a Magicka type. For the Boomstone, or rather the Mundus stone, I went with the warrior for subjective reasons. However, if you want to go a little bit more min-max-ish, I recommend going with the Thief stone, for it is objectively better. But since it is a role-playing build, this is only a template, so you can, play around, add stuff, remove stuff. Everything is up to the player himself. I'm using the Dubious Comorian Throne as a buff food since I'm playing stamina. If you're gonna go with Magicka, I recommend going with Witch Mother's Brew. The stats all around are very balanced and very basic. Honestly, there's nothing special whatsoever. Weapon damage around 5103, we can increase that really easily with the proper gear, however I will not be doing that. For the skills, we are going with a very simple setup, honestly. For the front bar we're using Power of the Light. It is a stamina costing ability. We are on the PTS server, so all of the PTS changes, they don't usually affect role-playing builds in general, they only affected the min-maxing guys that want to go with maximum damage as they want. Since I'm a role-playing guy, I really don't care honestly about all the changes, since I refrain from doing, hardcore and game achievement types of runs. That is a purely subjective point of view, honestly, so yeah. For the skills, as I said, Power of the Light, it marks the enemy, makes a spear appear above the head of an enemy, just nice. I'm using Biting Jabs. The only reason why I am using Biting Jabs is because I'm stamina and I get the Major Vitality and Major Sorcery. You can always get more sources of the same buff, however, since I invested a lot in stamina, I'm gonna go with this morph. If you go with Magicka, I definitely recommend the other morph because of the gear setup that we're gonna go and use. You probably gonna need the healing for that. I'm using Blazing Spear for another spear, Deadly Cloak for more blades around you, and I'm using Camouflaged Hunter for the minor berserk if flanking the enemy, and while being slaughtered we get Major Savagery and Major Prophecy. We don't use the skill. Plus, while slaughtered it gives us 3% more weapon damage, and if you go with a more Meridian type of champion guy, you're gonna probably go with Dawnbreaker because that's her signature artifact. You can always slot out Biting Jabs with Silver Balls for more damage, maybe Ring of Preservation for more, healing and stamina recovery, Trap Beast. You can also slot the whole bar on it in this one for the maximum gain because of the Slayer passive, giving us 3% more weapon and spell damage for each fighter's guild ability slotted. And every time we kill an enemy while a ability is slotted, we get 3 ultimate. This actually could combo well with the Nightblade, however we're going with the Templar, Crusader, so we're not gonna go there. For the ultimate I went with Solar Disturbance, but you can always slot in, Lacerate with a better effect, increasing the duration, or conal attack, each enemy hit, increase your damage done. The more enemies, the better. However, I will probably gonna go with... Actually, this... Yeah, I'm gonna go with Thriving Chaos. Because why not? For the back bar, I did go with the Ring of Preservation because I kind of need the healing that I get from this one. I went with Stampede because of the Mails from Back stuff. You can change it to whatever you back bar. If you back bar fire stuff, you can go with Wall of Elements. If you back bar, I don't know, dual wielding, you can go with Deadly Cloak, or you can go with Twin Slashes and morph it into Rending Slashes. If you go with a bow, you can go Volley, and yeah, etc, etc. For the third ability, I'm going with Ritual of Retribution. It deals damage rather than healing. However, if you need the extra heal, I recommend you morph it into the healing pot. I use it for the damage part of the morph, and when you activate it, it will cleanse up to 2 harmful effects from yourself immediately. So, yeah. For the fourth ability, I go with Repentance because this build kind of revolves around killing as many NPCs or ads as you can, as you physically can. So with that said, this is definitely really recommended. Maybe you can even slot it on your front bar if you can, because while slotted it gives you minor fortitude, endurance, intellect, increasing your health, stamina and magic recovery by 15%. And for the last ability, we're using Restoring Focus. 2 reasons: it will give us physical and spell resistance, and it will recover stamina every 1 second, and it will heal you for 1439 health every 1 second. Definitely a must, trust me, it's a must. And for the last one, it's Empowering Sweep. I use this more because we get Empower for the duration, and I know the light and heavy attacks got nerfed in this patch, but it's still a nice bonus to have. Now for the gear. For the gear, the main signature gear is going to be Pelinal's Wrath. That's the name of this build, and it is a very high risk, high reward type, quote-unquote, type of gear setup. Whenever you kill an enemy, you gain a damage shield that absorbs up to almost 20,000 damage for 10 seconds, and a stack of Wrath of Whitestrake for 10 seconds. Each stack grants you 100 spell and weapon damage, but makes you take more and more Oblivion damage up to 10 stacks. So basically at full stacks you're gonna get 1000 weapon and spell damage, pardon. But you will always also take up to 2350 Oblivion damage every second, so it is a really risky setup, but I love it. That's why I said the healing part of the skills are kinda must. You can play around with your skills, honestly. If you go with, I don't know, the other morph of Ritual Retribution for more healing, you can go with the other morph of Biting Jabs to heal even more, so yeah. For the other set, I went with Vicious Ophidian. The reason why I went with Vicious Ophidian is because every time we kill an enemy we get stamina and speed, and it reduces the cost of your stamina abilities. It's kind of a very nice setup. However, do I have alternatives? Yes, I do. If you want to go for the true Whitestrake feeling, you can go with Whitestrake. Where is it? Pelin... Oh, where the hell is it? Jesus Christ. Yeah, sorry about that. Can't find it, honestly. Height of Morehouse, guys. There's this one's crafted set. I will try to put it on the screen here. Basically, when you're under 35% of health, you will grant yourself another damage shield. It's just for the name's sake if you want to go with it. However, I do not recommend going it because it's going to be too many shields and you're still going to take Oblivion damage. However, the damage shields are definitely welcome. For the weapons, I did go with double arena weapons. I didn't want to go with a monster set, for I kind of didn't find anything that could fit the Pelinal feeling, the Crusader feeling. So I went with Black Rose dual wielding on the front bar, hence the reason why I went with the Blade Deadly Cloak. For the back bar, I did go with Maelstrom two-hander. I went with the Bad Legs just for, you know, no reason at all. You can go with the Great Sword, you can go with the Mace, really don't care. I went also Axis because I kind of like the critical damage I get from that, even though this build is not optimized whatsoever. If you want to optimize, you're gonna go with daggers, dual wielding daggers. So for the Black Rose, you can go with the Great Sword back bar. You're gonna go with Fire and Poison chance, maybe Charge and Nirnhold. Yeah, that's the correct traits. But as I said, the build is not endgame. It is not min-max. It is purely role playing. For other alternatives, I will recommend quite a bit. You can go with veteran weapons, and every time you, if you're gonna go with dueling, I definitely recommend veteran. You can go in with two-handed, even in PVE, since it is a role-playing build, you don't really care. You can go with Vampire's Kiss instead of Vicious Ophidian, because every time you kill an enemy, you heal for a lot of health every 10 seconds. Over 10 seconds. It does not have a, what do you call it? Cooldown, so use that as you want, and it will balance out the Pelinal's set, so it's gonna go, you know, it's gonna deal damage to you and you will heal while you kill enemies. If you go with the Unleashed Terror, every time you deal direct damage with a blink, charge, leap, teleport or pull ability, you cut your enemy, causing them to bleed for 10 seconds, dealing a lot of bleed damage over the duration. You can combine this one with other sets. For example, you can combine it with the Crusader set. Actually, this one's pretty fitting for the name of the build. It gives you, for the 2, 3 and 4 pieces, it gives you pure weapon and spell damage, and for the 5 piece, when you deal damage with a blink, charge, leap, teleport, pull ability, basically the same as the other one, you gain a damage shield that absorbs damage for 6 seconds, and every 2 seconds you and up to 11 group members gain minor courage. So yeah, it is a pretty nice set to combine with either Pelinal himself or with the Unleashed Terror. If you want to go even more with a risky setup, I definitely recommend the Titanborn. That's weapon and spell damage and offensive penetration. And while in combat, the bonus doubles when you're under 75% health and quadruples when you're under 50% health. So when you're under 50% health, and let's say you are at full stacks with Pelinal's Ring, that's 1000 weapon and spell damage, combined with Titanborn, which is going to be around 440 weapon and spell damage and 4000, almost 5000 offensive penetration. Definitely a nice high risk, high reward type of build. You can go with the Sword Dancer if you want to go pure attributes, just to add damage to your dual wielding. However, I definitely recommend using more dual wielding skills rather than if you're not encouraged by using, or let's say you're playing as another class, but you want to go with more of a Templar feeling, you can slot in some dual wielding weapons to compensate for the effects. You can go with Rushing Agony as well. You can combine the Rushing Agony with the Crusader, or you can go with Unleashed Terror. The Rush of Agony, when you deal direct damage or yada yada, you pull enemies within 10 meters to you, and after 2 seconds it basically you deal a lot of damage to all enemies within 7 meters. And this can only affect every 8 seconds, and yeah, this will not pull enemies that are under crowd control immunity in the time period. Definitely a nice set you can use. It pulls enemies, you just, spam your jabs, when in doubt, jabs out. It's pure. You can go with Withered Hand. It is a Magicka, or rather a light armor setup. However, it definitely helps out with the healing and the Magicka sustain if you want to go with a more hybrid type of feeling. Maybe let's say you're gonna go with the Pelinal armor and you slot on Withered Hand, and for, you know, every enemy you kill every 3 seconds you get healing, you get magicka back. You're using the other morph of the jabs that actually heals you. The magicka recovery will definitely help you out. You can go with Parabellum. When you deal damage, you gain a damage shield that absorbs up to 8,000 for 6 seconds every 6 seconds. So basically a 100% uptime. It is from the Maelstrom Arena and it is in medium armor. So for some monster sets, I did mention that you can go with, technically, monster sets. And if you go with a quote-unquote Meridian type of champion, definitely going with Siphoning Blades. When you heal an ally who is under 50% of their primary resource, grant them Meridian's favor, restores magicka or stamina every 1 second for 6 seconds, which can occur every 18 seconds. Yeah, there's nothing much to say about this one. This is definitely more of a Meridian type of playstyle. Grundwolf, definitely a nice, you know, resource manager, gives you stamina or magicka every 5 seconds, you know. It's just resource. However, if you want to go with the lore variant of Pelinal Windstrake, you can, you know, squeeze in a little bit of the Minotaur theme, because Pelinal's, let's say, call him best friend, called Morihaus, was a Minotaur. And, you know, you can also squeeze in a couple of the thematics and combining the Minotaur theme with the Templar to get that Pelinal age type of thing. And I would recommend going with the Domihaus monster set in that case. When you deal damage, you create a giant ring of molten earth and fire, and while standing inside of it you get 300 weapon and spell damage, which can occur only every 50 seconds. So it has a 70-75-ish % uptime. Definitely nice set. If you're gonna go with the Meridian style, definitely Meridian's Blessed Armor. You can combine it with the Tava's Favor, which gives you ultimate for every time you dodge any incoming attack, and this one has a 5-second one. It can give you a nice ultimate boost, but it's more tanky than anything else. I'm just recommending it because of the name if you go with the Meridian style. Definitely recommend also Master Weapons, the 200 with a big AoE, or you can go with, I don't know, the dual wielding and twin slashings, etc, etc. The Maelstrom Bow, definitely recommend it if you want to go with that route. Maelstrom Weapons, already mentioned. Hide of Morihaus, when you roll dodge through an enemy, you deal physical damage and knock them down for 3 seconds. It's completely useless. Pardon me. It's completely useless. However, for the sake of the name, I definitely included it here if you want to go with a little bit more of the Minotaur feel. But you can also go with Pillar of Nirn if you want to go with, you know, a little bit more Minotaur. However, I did not extract it here, so I can't find it. Hexos Ward, dealing damage grants you a damage shield that absorbs up to X amount of damage for 6 seconds, can only affect every 7 seconds, so 95% uptime. Nice, beautiful solo setup. It drops in medium armor, there is nothing else I can add. Galerian's Revenge, when you deal damage with a light or heavy attack, you put a mark of revenge on the enemy for 15 seconds. After stacking 5 marks of the revenge, they detonate for X amount of damage. The reason why I included this set is because of the name, basically Revenge. Even though Galerian was the one that founded the Mages Guild, we're still gonna, you know, cheese it a little bit and just add it here on the list. Deadly Strike if you want to go a little bit more min-maxing, because it is the best in slot for Templars. There is nothing else I can say to this. It's weapon damage, critical damage, weapon damage, increase the damage of your damage over time, and channel abilities, and your spammable is a channeled ability. Everything else is purely a DOT, so this is the best in slot, as I recall the last time I checked the meta for Templars. Dead Water, you can go with this one with Pelinal, and when you kill an enemy you gain 15 ultimate. It has no cooldown, so you can basically get a lot of ultimate. The more enemies there are, the better it is. Crusader I already recommended. Bloodthorn's Touch, when you deal direct damage you restore magicka and stamina every 5 seconds. It drops in light armor and Glenumbra. You can combine it with Withered Hand. The Black Rose weapons, were already mentioned them, you can use them as you want, and Asylum goes the same. Now for the CP. For the CP, and the green tree, definitely recommend Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, a little bit speed for the Steed's Blessing to move around in between, you know, quests and everything else, and Gifted Rider to give you more mount speed. If you have even more spare ones, you can go with the War Mount, so your stamina does not drain on your mount. You can go whatever the heck you want, honestly, purely subjective. On the blue tree, as I said, it is a role-playing build, so I will leave everything up to you. The things I use are definitely Master at Arms for the direct damage. I went with Fighting Venice for a little bit of critical damage because I am using Axis, so my critical chance is low, but when it does do critical chance, you know, when it crits, it will deal a little bit more damage than you expected. I went with Reaving Blows because I really need a healing, and this one is definitely a must-have if you go with the stamina variant, if you don't go with the healing variant, and if you want to play around with the Pelinal's set. For the last CP, I definitely went with Wrathful Strikes, granting you more weapon and spell damage. However, if you want to, you can squeeze in Oculent Overload, which at its maximum will deal 12,000 Oblivion damage when a enemy dies in a 4-meter radius, so it will kaboom a lot. And for the red tree, I went with Health, Armor. Every time we kill an enemy we get Stamina, every time we kill an enemy we get Magicka. If you are not using Vicious Ophidian, I can actually recommend to squeeze in Thrill of the Hunt, giving you 6 seconds of Major Expedition every time you kill an enemy. And that should be it. Maybe you can go with Bastion, or maybe Arcane Auxiliary or Shieldmaster, you know, buffing up the shield aspect of the build. For the fashion, I went with something really simple. I went with full on Order of the Hour, except the weapons. The weapons I went with Ivory Brigade. I kind of like the Ivory Brigade weapons. I don't know why they really look knight-ish. However, you can always go with Order of the Hour. It should technically include the watch thingy, and it's really fancy. I went with Tower White Gold for the metallics, I went with Birch White for the white pieces, and the gold for the little details we have. However, if you want to play around with a Meridian style, I'll definitely recommend this type of fashion. Probably Meridian's full-on setup. Just going with it, you know, really simple. And the way I like to set up my Meridian outfit is going with the light variants of the many of the pieces, except chest piece. I like the chest piece to stay as the medium one. Maybe for the shoulders I recommend light as well, medium this one. For the legs, maybe Storm Lord, and for the headpiece we may even go with Sapiarch. Either go with medium one or the heavy one, but I definitely want to go with the light one. And for a Champion of Meridia, this definitely, I think, at least subjectively, fits really nice. Let me just dye it a little bit, maybe here, no, here, yeah, definitely here, here and here. Let's just clear out these parts and go with more of a white tint. There we go. I definitely do enjoy the look of the Meridian two-hander because it has these this gap in between them and kind of really shines a lot in my personal taste buds, honestly. So don't take it for granted. You can play around, go with a more Ivory Brigade if you want to. I definitely love the shoulders in the heavy version, maybe the boots, the hands, maybe the waist even. Nah, the waist I'd rather go with the other one. For the feet definitely can go with heavy as well. For the chest piece maybe something, I don't know, you can go with Night Hollow for a little bit more of a night feeling. For the headpiece you can leave it as it is, you can go with as well a Night Hollow and maybe play around, see something else. I don't know, give me a recommendation. I have no idea. Maybe the Ascendant Order could fit, could definitely hit. Although they are medium, nah, I hate it. I hate it because I usually would love it, but the problem is it makes my character go bald. It leaves the 2-3 centimeters in between. It really looks too stupid and silly. Maybe the CP arc, yeah, could go. It's really nice. If you want to go with the mask, Yakuden is definitely recommended. You can go with the Breton, you can go with the Ancestral Breton. Yeah, maybe the Ebony one. Glass, probably Glass is definitely recommended for a knight-ish type of guy. Daggerfall definitely fits the role of a nice knight. True Sworn, Worm Cult, you know, just play around, see what fits. Definitely Silver Rose is a nice setup. If you want to go with the pure knight, definitely go with Silver Rose. You cannot screw up with Silver Rose. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you around.